Have you ever been caught up in an argument of which is better, hard magic versus soft magic? And did you find yourself wondering what kind of magic system your world needed? Should you go hard? Should you go soft? What's the difference between the two, and why does it matter? That is what I want to talk about today. Welcome to another episode of Just in Time Worlds with your host, Marie Mullaney. Today I'm going to delve into the actual differences between hard and soft magic, when which one works better, and why you should care about it or not. If you would like my help in building your magic system or any other part of your world, you can engage my services through my Ko-fi page. Or if you'd like to help me make more of these videos, you can hit the join button for memberships and you can get these cool perks as part of your membership of this channel. Okay, enough of that. Let's crack on with hard magic systems and soft magic systems. So, what is a hard magic system and how does it differ from a soft magic system? These are terms that Brandon Sanderson coined when speaking about magic systems, and he defined it as a hard magic system. The reader understands the rules of the system. The more they understand, the harder the system is. A soft magic system, the reader does not understand the rules. Now, I want to emphasize this very clearly. A soft magic system doesn't mean that there are no rules. It doesn't mean that the author doesn't understand the rules. It means the reader doesn't understand the rules. And this is important because people have this tendency to talk about the huge difference between these two systems. But the difference is not that big. Magic in fantasy novels do one thing. They do what the author wants the magic system to do. In a hard magic system, the only real difference is that the reader also understands the rules, and therefore, if the author breaks the rules, it needs to be in such a way that the reader doesn't feel cheated by the breaking of the rules. They don't feel like they've just wasted an entire book learning a set of rules, and then all of a sudden these rules change on them without any reason for it, without any explanation behind it, and without any signpost that this is coming. So, it is not about realism or anything like that. It is about how much the reader understands. But speaking of realism, the proponents of hard magic systems will often say that these systems are more realistic. There is nothing realistic about magic, whether it's hard or soft. It is not realistic in context of our world to chew a piece of metal and gain some kind of magic power from it. This is not a realistic thing. The only realism that matters is in-world realism. Is it realistic for the world that your magic system works in this way or that way? But it is almost more important to ask, is it realistic how people in your world react to your magic system? You can have a soft magic system and it can still be realistic. George R.R. Martin has one of the softest magic systems in current published fantasy. It is very poorly explained how his magic system works. And as a reader, I don't have a comprehensive understanding of it. I speculate and I think about it, but I don't have a comprehensive understanding. But the way that people in his world react to magic fits that soft magic system. People react with fear to magic. The old town maesters try to control magic. They don't want magic in the world. Why? Because it's a dangerous, unstable force that no one understands. Therefore, his magic system, while the system may not be realistic, whatever that means, the way that people react to his magic is realistic for his world. By contrast, the way that Dungeons and Dragon worlds typical D&D worlds react to magic is not realistic at all. D&D magic should be common. It should be ubiquitous. It should be everywhere. You should have golems working on farms. Given how common that kind of magic is, no one should be ill because priestly magic to make people well should be commonplace, given how many adventurers there are and all the rest of that thing. I mean, being an adventurer is literally at level 1. You can already cast Cure Wounds. Disease shouldn't be a thing. So in D&D worlds, while you could say the magic system is realistic in that it has rules and terms and whatnot, the way that the world reacts to magic is generally not realistic. So that is a hard magic system with a non-realistic reaction from the world on the magic system. So hard magic system, soft magic system, these things don't really impact your in-world realism. What impacts your in-world realism is how people react to the magic, how the rest of your world fits around your magic system. In George R.R. Martin's world, it is clear that there are bloodline genetic components based on things like the Valerians and so on. So his magic system makes sense in that context. Okay, and if you like that discussion of realism and hard versus soft magic systems, hit the thumbs up button. And let's talk about the sense of wonder. So one of the things that people who like soft magic systems often say is that soft magic systems give you a sense of wonder which is missing in hard magic systems. Again, I don't think that this is true. I think that you can have a sense of wonder in hard magic systems. I know how my scuba equipment works. I know exactly what's going to happen when I fall off a boat and when I start breathing in the canned air that sits on my back. That does not stop the sense of wonder that I experience when I am under the sea. It does not in any way diminish how beautiful I find the coral reefs. I can have seen 1,000,000 clownfish, and every time that I come up to an enemy where there is a clownfish, I will stop and take photos, because for me, the wonder never diminishes. And I think that the same applies to your characters. If your characters in a hard magic system feel wonder for the magic that they experience, that sense of wonder will translate to your reader. In a more scientific sense, I know how the eye evolved. I know that there was, this lens, and then it developed into like a pinhole eye, and, irises and the various types of eyes that have evolved. I know all those things. And yet it is still wonderful to me to learn about the evolutionary process. I know that metals come from stars. I know that the growth of stars and the various pressures, and as stars grow bigger, they make heavier metals. I know that this becomes elements that drift around in space that eventually form into planets like ours, with these elements now incorporated into the crust of our planet. But it is still wonderful to me to think of how stars created the metals, the elements and the metals that we find in our world today. Nothing about the fact that I understand those rules reduces my wonder of that process. I don't think that soft magic systems inherently lend themselves to a sense of wonder. I think it depends on how your characters react to their magic. Is it wonderful for the character to use magic? Does the character love the rules of magic? Do they research the rules? Do they want to learn more? If the answer to that is yes, that will translate to the reader, and the reader will also experience a sense of wonder when they hit the magic system. So again, I don't think that hard magic versus soft magic is really a question of one has a sense of wonder and one doesn't. So if you enjoyed that discussion of a sense of wonder and magic systems, hit the thumbs up button. And let's talk about Deus Ex Machina and if soft magic systems lend themselves to Deus Ex Machina. So this is kind of a yes and no thing. But the problem isn't soft magic systems. The problem is Deus Ex Machina in and of itself. So Deus Ex Machina is when the solution to a problem comes out of nowhere. It is when the character's problem is simply solved. And it doesn't even have to be a magic solution. The example that my podcast partner likes to use is the character was chasing a bad guy, and the bad guy somehow went over the top of a cliff and he's flying away, or he's gone to the bottom, or whatever the case is. The character has to get to the bottom of the cliff. And the character says, "Thankfully, I remembered to pack 400 feet of rope." Really? Where did you say you were packing this 400 feet of rope? Where is it said that you're even carrying a bag? How were you carrying 400 feet of rope? And that is a Deus Ex Machina device. It is a solution to a problem that comes out of nowhere. And yes, magic systems very easily lend themselves to this kind of abuse. The writer has written themselves into a little bit of a corner and they go, "Oh, oops, let me just magic my way out of here." A really great example of that is Terry Goodkind, whose entire magic system seems to consist out of, "and then Richard learns summon Deus Ex Machina." Because that is what happens at the end of every book. Richard learns a new Deus Ex Machina technique and the book is over. So yes, soft magic systems can lend themselves to this. But this isn't the flaw of soft magic systems. It is the flaw of Deus Ex Machina, which you should avoid whether you are using a hard magic system or a soft magic system. And if you enjoyed that discussion of Deus Ex Machina, hit the thumbs up button. And let's talk about if soft magic systems give you greater flexibility. So the answer here is yes, sort of. Hard magic systems do give you flexibility, but in order to have that kind of flexibility, you need to have some wiggle room in your hard magic system. So you shouldn't expose all your rules to your reader. And B, whatever changes you make must still fit in with what you have already shown your reader. Whereas in a softer magic system, where the reader doesn't understand the magic system so well, it is much easier to make changes later in the process because you don't have to make sure that it still fits in with everything that you have previously shown the reader. But this brings me to something that I think that you need to understand whether you're using hard magic or soft magic. Even if your system is fully defined, even if you have a rule for everything, don't show everything to the reader up front unless this is really important to your story. The more secrets you keep, the more you kind of tease out the rules, the more you leave breadcrumbs for the reader to follow, something for the reader to find interesting and to track down, a sense of mystery for the reader to follow the road. You don't have to provide a video game tutorial style magic system intro in order to have a hard magic system. You just need to let the reader know what the limitations are of your magic and how those limitations kind of impact the world, and slowly tease out the rules to the reader. So what really is the difference between a hard magic system and a soft magic system? I don't think that it actually has anything to do with a magic system. I think it depends on the kind of story that you want to tell. If you want a magic user, a mage or a wizard or such a character, to be a point of view character, then you need a harder magic system with more predefined rules, because your main protagonist should be using their main tool in order to overcome their problems. Otherwise, why do you have them as a character? So if you're going to have a magic user as a POV, you should have a harder magic system so that you can use it to overcome problems in a way that doesn't feel like a Deus ex machina to the reader. But if the story that you want to tell is more about a warrior or a farmer or a hobbit, a good person carrying a ring across the length and breadth of a continent, you can have a softer magic system, because the only interaction that your POV is going to have with magic is when it's cast on him or used for his benefit or to his detriment. Therefore, you don't need as many rules, because the reader is experiencing what the character experiences, and the character will not know the rules of magic, just how it impacts him. So when you're deciding whether you need a hard magic system or a soft magic system, think about the story that you're trying to tell and what characters you'll be telling this story through, and decide based on that if you want a hard magic system or a soft magic system. And remember, the more secrets you keep, the more tantalizing you can make it for the reader. And those are my thoughts on hard magic systems versus soft magic systems. If you want to see how I built a magic system, links to my books down below, my epic fantasy books, the Sangwheel Chronicles. And if you want to help me make more videos like this, hit the join button and get these cool perks. If you enjoyed this video, maybe check out my video on magic and politics and how they make an explosive mix. And I will see you soon for another episode of Just in Time World.